The story kicks off in a high school, where a quiet girl named Mallory ends up crossing paths with a group of 3 girls, led by a particularly mean one named Nanita. Right from the start, Nanita gives Mallory a hard stare and starts accusing her of snitching to a teacher about something. Mallory tries to stay calm and explains that all she did was answer a teacher's question honestly, and she wasn't trying to get anyone in trouble. She even says she'll be more careful next time. But Nanita doesn't want to hear any of it. She's clearly angry and just wants to pick a fight. Seeing how tense things are getting, Mallory decides not to argue. She walks away as fast as she can to avoid any trouble. Mallory ends up at this old bridge by the water, thinking maybe she's safe now. But no, Nanita and her 2 sidekicks show up again. Nanita starts mocking her, calling her names, and throwing insults. Before Mallory can even respond, Nanita shoves her hard to the ground. She keeps taunting her and even challenges her to a fight. Mallory slowly gets up, but she barely has time to react before Nanita smashes her fist right into Mallory's face. Blood immediately drips from Mallory's nose. Nanita and her girls find this funny and cheer like it's entertainment. One of them, Manita, pulls out her phone and starts recording the whole thing while laughing. She spits on Mallory and sneers that she should go back to the United States, making it clear they see her as an outsider. Then they actually post the video online and start bragging that people are already watching it. Mallory stays lying on the ground, hurt and humiliated. She doesn't say anything back, but you can see the anger building up in her eyes. Nanita keeps mocking her until she turns around to leave. But before Nanita can get far, Mallory quickly grabs something from the ground and hits Nanita with it. She doesn't get the chance to do anything more because a man suddenly shows up and breaks it up before things get worse. Later, Mallory is seen coming out of a police station with her Uncle Tommy. He walks beside her in silence for a bit, then tells her things aren't looking good for her right now. Mallory insists that she didn't start the fight and that Nanita had attacked her first, but Tommy doesn't seem fully convinced. When they get back home, Tommy gets a phone call saying that Mallory has been expelled from school. He tells her this news, but she just sits quietly, staring at a bottle of wine and a pill container on the table. Before walking out of the room, Tommy tries to give her some advice. He tells her she has to learn to fit in and adapt, especially since they're in a new country. But Mallory doesn't seem to be listening at all. As soon as he leaves, Mallory empties the pill bottle and swallows all the pills at once. Then she steps outside, walking aimlessly until she collapses just a few steps from the door. An ambulance comes quickly and rushes her to the hospital. Luckily, the doctors manage to save her, and one of them tells Tommy that she's going to be fine and didn't suffer any major damage. Tommy goes to her bedside and gently wakes her up, telling her she really scared him this time. Not long after, when she's discharged, Tommy takes Mallory to court with their lawyer. The judge doesn't go easy on her at all. He sentences her to 2 years in a correctional facility and also adds a massive fine on top of it. He says it's a fair judgment, even though it feels harsh. There's nothing they can do to change it. So they return home for Mallory to pack up her stuff. Then Tommy drives her to the facility. When they arrive, a woman named Sky greets them and leads them through the building to meet the warden. The warden puts on a fake warm smile and says they take really good care of their inmates and that Mallory won't even feel like she's in prison. She talks as if it's a safe, welcoming place. Once she's done, she tells Mallory to say goodbye to Tommy before she gets processed. Mallory can't hold back her tears while hugging him. Tommy promises he'll do everything he can to get her out as soon as possible and that he'll stay in touch. With that, he walks away, leaving Mallory standing there trying not to cry. Sky then takes Mallory inside, and the reality hits her instantly. The cells are cramped and depressing, and the other girls inside don't look friendly at all. Sky just says it's normal and tells her to follow along. They head out to the yard where a bunch of inmates are hanging around. It doesn't take long before one of them, a tough-looking girl named Riz, notices Mallory and immediately starts harassing her. Riz tells her she's nothing and can't do anything about it. Mallory looks terrified and frozen. But another inmate named Belle suddenly steps in and warns Riz to back off. Mallory quietly thanks Belle, but Belle just shrugs and walks off like it's no big deal. Soon after, Sky takes Mallory to her cell. A guard follows along as well. Inside, Sky hands Mallory a prison uniform and tells her to strip and change. Mallory feels awkward and embarrassed, but one of her new cellmates, a girl named Kat, casually tells her not to worry, saying they've all been through the same thing. After Mallory changes, Sky quickly explains her daily schedule and rules, then leaves with the guard. Kat starts asking questions about what Mallory did to get locked up, and when Mallory explains, Kat seems interested. But when Mallory flips the question and asks why Kat is here, Kat snaps and angrily tells her to mind her own business. Soon, it's lunchtime, and everyone has to head to the cafeteria. After grabbing her meal, Kat invites Mallory to sit with her. As they eat, Mallory notices Riz glaring at her from across the room. Kat quietly explains that Riz is in prison because she murdered her entire family, and even their pet cat. Mallory is stunned and can't believe it. Kat also mentions that the prison is full of corruption, and sometimes they organize illegal fight nights, where inmates are forced to fight each other just for entertainment. While Kat is explaining all this, Riz walks up to their table and starts bothering Mallory again. Kat steps in to defend her, and a guard has to intervene before it turns into an all-out fight. Afterward, Kat tells Mallory that she better learn how to fight or she won't survive here. Later, Mallory asks if she can call Tommy. Kat warns her to be careful because all phone calls are monitored. Mallory still goes ahead and calls him. She pleads with him to find a way to get her out. Tommy promises he'll try, but the call gets cut short when a guard says her time is up. Not long after, Mallory gets called to the warden's office. The warden puts a bunch of documents in front of her and tells her to sign them. Mallory says she wants to call Tommy or her lawyer first because she can't read the language they're written in. The warden waves her off and says it's nothing serious, but if she refuses to sign, her sentence won't even start counting. Feeling pressured, Mallory reluctantly signs. The next day, Skye shows up again and tells Mallory it's time for her to start working. Mallory picks floor scrubbing duty. While she's cleaning, Riz shows up again, clearly looking to mess with her. She taunts Mallory, then suddenly punches her in the face, leaving her cheeks swollen. Later, Kat sees Mallory's injury and immediately knows Riz is behind it. Mallory begs her not to start trouble, but Kat storms off and ends up fighting Riz anyway. The warden appears during the fight and coldly orders the guards to throw both of them into the cages, which are basically isolation cells. While the guards drag them away, the warden gives Mallory this unsettling stare like she's planning something. That night, Kat is brought back to their cell, looking absolutely wrecked and barely able to walk. Seeing this, Mallory confronts the warden and says what they're doing is cruel. But the warden just glares at her and warns her never to talk about what happens inside this prison. Then she adds something shocking. She says Mallory needs to toughen up and learn to fight, and announces that she's already scheduled Mallory's first fight in 2 weeks. Mallory is completely caught off guard, but before she can say anything, the warden orders one of Mallory's cellmates to fight her right there as practice. Mallory stands frozen in confusion, but the girl punches her anyway. The warden smirks and tells Mallory she better start training if she wants to survive. The following day, Mallory finds Belle in the gym and begs her to help train her. Belle doesn't exactly say yes. Instead, she sets a near-impossible condition that Mallory has to complete first. Mallory tries and fails, feeling hopeless and frustrated. She eventually tries to copy Belle's movements on her own, but it's not working. Furious and exhausted, Mallory storms out of the gym, wondering how she's supposed to survive in this place at all. Mallory's face is full of frustration and anger as she storms toward the phones. She's desperate to call someone, anyone who could help her. But the moment she picks up the receiver, a guard barks at her that she's not allowed to use it. Before she can even argue, Skye strolls over, pretending to help but quietly warning Mallory not to say a word about the warden or anything happening inside the prison. Skye then gives her the go-ahead to make the call, but she stays close, keeping her eyes glued on her the whole time. Mallory dials Tommy, hoping to hear a familiar voice, and when he answers, relief washes over her face. But that relief quickly turns to shock when Tommy tells her he was never allowed to visit. He says the prison claimed Mallory herself had signed away her visiting rights. Mallory freezes. She immediately realizes what that paperwork from the warden's office actually was. They tricked her. She wants to explain, but with Skye hovering behind her like a hawk, she can't risk saying anything. Tommy goes on, promising he'll do everything possible to get her out. But before he can finish, Skye cuts the call short and orders Mallory to follow her. Skye leads her down into the basement. The air feels damp and heavy down there, and Mallory's stomach twists. Out of nowhere, a guard orders her to strip. Mallory just stares at them, stunned, shaking her head like she didn't hear them right. The guard doesn't wait. He slaps her hard across the face, and the shock jolts her into obeying. Trembling, she takes off her clothes. A moment later, the warden steps into the room, heels clicking on the concrete floor, eyes cold and sharp. She casually mentions that they know Mallory's dad is rich, but refuses to pay the fee she's demanding. Since he won't cooperate, she says Mallory will pay the price instead. Mallory panics, begging desperately, promising she'll find a way to get her father to send the money. The warden doesn't care. She just nods to her guards. What follows is disgusting and cruel. They assault her while the warden watches. When they're finished, the warden leans close and coldly tells Mallory this was only a lesson, and more punishments will come if the money doesn't arrive. Skye then drags Mallory off to the showers. Mallory stands under the water, broken and shaking. Her mind spins wildly. Finally, in utter despair, she tries to hang herself with a piece of cloth from her prison clothes. But the attempt fails. She slips and crashes to the ground just as Skye comes back in and finds her lying there. Instead of comfort, Skye shows no emotion, just calls in someone to carry Mallory back to her cell. Later, the warden visits her cell. Mallory curls into a corner, terrified. The warden grins and reminds her that her big scheduled fight is only a week away. If she doesn't want to die in that ring, she better start training like her life depends on it, because it does. After the warden leaves, Kat quietly approaches Mallory and offers to train her. At first, their sessions are awkward, just basic punches and dodges, but they start spending more and more time together. One day, while training, things get unexpectedly intense. They stop mid-session, lock eyes, and end up kissing. They sneak off to an empty room and make out, trying to forget their nightmare reality for just a moment. Afterward, Kat opens up, telling Mallory how her ex-boyfriend betrayed her and framed her for a crime that landed her in prison. Mallory listens and softly tells her she didn't deserve what happened. Kat smiles faintly at the comfort, and they both head back, continuing their training sessions with renewed energy. Mallory slowly begins to improve. Her punches get sharper, her movements faster. Even Belle notices and compliments her when she sees her training hard in the gym. A few days later, Kat is showing Mallory some new moves when the warden appears unexpectedly. She looks Mallory up and down with a smirk and says that since she's looking stronger now, it's time to give her an exhibition match as a warm-up before her official fight. Mallory protests that she's not ready, but no one cares. Guards drag her off to the fight area anyway. When she sees who her opponent is, her eyes go wide. It's Nanita, the same girl who bullied her back at school. Somehow, Nanita's here now too, locked up in this hellhole. Mallory's fear quickly melts into fierce determination. The bell rings, and they lunge at each other. Nanita is vicious, throwing fast, hard punches that leave Mallory staggering at first. But Mallory's anger fuels her. She claws her way back, landing blow after blow until Nanita is crumpled on the ground, barely conscious. The warden watches from the stands, clapping slowly while a guard records the entire thing. She looks thrilled, like this is just entertainment to her. The next day, Mallory gets summoned to the warden's office. The warden is all smiles now, congratulating her on the big win. She says the fight video got tons of views and people are obsessed with her. Then her tone turns icy. She says Tommy has finally managed to bribe his way in for a visit, but if Mallory dares mention anything about what really happens here, she'll have Tommy killed. Then she lays out Mallory's two choices: either get her dad to pay for her release or fight Riz to the death. If she wins, she walks free. Mallory chooses to fight. When she meets Tommy, he looks shaken seeing her bruises. He gently asks how she's doing, but Mallory stays quiet with Skye looming behind her. Tommy urges her to contact her father, saying he's powerful enough to pull strings and get her out. He explains he tried talking to him, but the man wouldn't listen. Mallory refuses angrily and even spits out a few bitter words about her dad before storming off. Later, while she's training in the gym again, the warden shows up and casually announces Mallory no longer has gym privileges. Mallory is confused, but doesn't argue. She just keeps training secretly inside her cell. Kat quietly warns her that the warden clearly wants her to lose on fight night. Meanwhile, Riz is still using the gym, and the warden shows up during her session. Mallory secretly watches as the warden orders a guard to inject Riz with some kind of performance booster. Then the warden leans in close and whispers to Riz to kill Mallory in the fight, and if she does, she'll walk out of prison free. That night, Belle pulls Mallory aside and gives her some calm advice. If she wants to survive, she has to build her mental strength. Belle says strength isn't just about muscles. It's about staying sharp, staying cold, and not letting fear control her. The next day, things get worse. At lunch, the guards deliberately block Mallory from getting any food. When Kat tries to share hers, they stop her too. That night, Mallory lies in bed with her stomach growling. A rat scurries past the cell floor, and she stares at it like it's a possible meal. Kat looks away, horrified and heartbroken at what this place is doing to her. Finally, fight night arrives. The atmosphere is electric, filled with tension. The warden gathers everyone and grins as she declares the rules. Only one fighter leaves alive. Kat, Belle, and a few other inmates sit off to the side, along with a guard holding a camera to record everything. Riz and Mallory step into the ring. As soon as the bell rings, they explode into motion, punching, kicking, grappling, both of them fighting like wild animals. Blood splatters across the floor. For a while, they seem evenly matched, but Mallory digs deep and manages to slam Riz to the ground, pinning her there. The warden steps closer, her eyes gleaming, and tells Mallory to finish Riz off. Mallory freezes, breathing hard, staring down at her beaten opponent. The warden tosses her a knife and promises that killing Riz will make her life easy. Mallory picks up the blade, seeming to agree, but just as everyone leans in to watch, she suddenly spins around, grabs the warden, and presses the knife to her throat. Guards lift their guns, but Mallory screams that she'll kill the warden if anyone fires. The warden snarls at her to stand down, still trying to act in control, but Mallory doesn't hesitate. She stabs the warden and yells at the guards to drop their weapons. Shocked, they obey. Kat quickly picks up their guns while Mallory keeps her blade pressed to the bleeding warden's neck. They start backing out of the room with the warden as their hostage. When they reach the outer yard, Kat snatches the keys from the warden's pocket and runs to get her car. Mallory shoves the warden toward Riz and some of the other inmates. They swarm her instantly, beating her mercilessly as she screams for mercy. Kat screeches up in the warden's car a moment later. Mallory jumps in, telling her they need to head straight to the U.S. Embassy. Kat slams the gas pedal, and they disappear into the night, free at last. And that's where the story wraps up.